Falmouth Community Television's coverage of town meeting is sponsored by the following corporate underwriters.
Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce.
The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
People think that a locally owned and operated appliance store may not offer what they need. Actually, we have trained and dedicated sales associates, expert delivery and installation, professional repair service, and personal customer service. Plus, we have access to a huge local warehouse with over 6,000 models in stock. Crane Appliance. We call the Cape and Islands home. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs. 508-548-7303 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server colocation, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their number one goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.
The Quarterdeck Restaurant, located on Main Street in the heart of Falmouth, specializing in fresh local seafood and other classic American cuisine, featuring a full bar with friendly staff. And the Bucatino Restaurant and Wine Bar, located in North Falmouth just off Nathan Ellis Highway, featuring catering services with 2 full event rooms serving up classic Italian cuisine. The Quarterdeck Restaurant and Bucatino Restaurant and Wine Bar, we're here to serve all our friends in Falmouth.
Additional funding and support provided by the following corporate sponsors.
Find out why middle and high school students travel from more than 22 towns across the Cape, Coast, and the Islands to attend Falmouth Academy. Enrolling now for fall 2021. Information is available at falmouthacademy.org.
Barrett Plumbing and Heating offers expert plumbing, heating, and air conditioning services to all our residential and commercial customers on Cape Cod and surrounding area. We are a full-service plumbing specialist offering professional workmanship to suit your budget. Whatever your heating or plumbing need, you can always count on a job that's done right.
We at Falmouth Fish believe there is nothing better than a fresh piece of fish, direct from the waters of Cape Cod in New England. Nothing beats waking up at 4 a.m. to search out the highest quality seafood from the best fishermen in the world.
Hamilton Tree and Landscape has been proudly serving Falmouth and the Upper Cape since 1978. Our newest location on Route 151 is now open for all landscaping and tree concerns. Appreciating your property is our motto as we continue to keep your tree and landscaping needs our top priority. At A&A Paving, we believe in providing customers with quality products supported by excellent service. We provide commercial and residential seal coating, asphalt paving, and repair services for Cape Cod and southeastern Mass. A&A Paving, 508-540-4944.
Calfee Insurance, offering insurance policies for your car, home, business, life, and disability. Calfee cares about all your insurance needs. 508-540-2601 and online at calfeeinsurance.com.
Thomas J. Bunker and Jeffrey E. Reither are BSS Design, providing land surveying and civil engineering in Falmouth since 1987. Licensed and fully insured, they're located on Catherine Lee Bates Road, and their phone number is 540-8805. Liam McGuire's Irish Pub. With a newly renovated dining room, it's what an Irish pub should be. Main Street, downtown Falmouth. Bayside Kitchen and Bath, your one-stop shop for all kitchen and bath products. Bayside now offers in-home design services, consultation, and estimates. Our website is tailored for customers to shop online safely from home. Bayside Kitchen and Bath, baysidekitchens.com. Waypoint Living Spaces, carrying a large variety of products to suit your needs in any living space of your house. Waypoint, available locally at Bayside Kitchen Bath or online at waypointliving.space.com.
Eastman's has been Falmouth's hardware store since 1913. With a newly added retail space providing kitchen accessory and gourmet foods, our friendly staff is available to assist you with your hardware and kitchen needs. 508-540-0407.
Carpet Barn, Carpet One Home Showcase, a local family-owned business offering all your premier carpet and flooring needs. They also feature tile and vinyl floors, area rugs, window treatments, and kitchen and bathroom cabinetry, serving you at 4 convenient locations. Family-owned since 1919, at Puritan Cape Cod you'll find the latest in men's and women's clothing, as well as ski and tennis equipment and much more. Located on Main Street, Falmouth, and in Chatham, Mashpee, and Hyannis. Puritan Cape Cod, 199 Main Street, Falmouth, and online at puritanCapeCod.com.
FCTV is also supported by the following businesses and organizations.
Whole Health Company, LLC, 484-888-8202. J. Miller Picture Framer, 681 Falmouth Road, 508-539-3888. Oppenheim and Nickerson, LLP, 156 Locust Street, 508-548-8255. Dalpy Septic Plumbing, Residential, Commercial Pumping and Cleaning, 508-548-5488. Nobska Lighthouse and Maritime Museum, friendsofnobska.org. The Falmouth EDIC, falmouthedic.org, 508-548-7440. Partners Technology, Voice and Data Solutions, 781-930-5000. The Annie Hart Cool Team, 508-868-0664. Sora's Flower Garden Nursery, 508-548-5288. M. Duffney Builders, 508-540-3625. Waquoit Congregational Church, 508-548-5269. Village Lamp and Repair Shop, 508-274-2057. Danny's Barber Shop, 508-548-6013. Paul's Precision Automotive Repair, 508-548-3164. David Rogers Electric, 508-274-2057. Murray & McDonald Insurance, 1-800-800-8990. The Davy Tree Expert Company, 508-548-2662. Chapman Colin Gleason, 508-540-4172. Hanush Jewelers in downtown Falmouth, 508-548-9107. Mahoney's Garden Center, 508-548-4842. The Cape Cod 5, 508-457-5252. Martha's Vineyard Savings Bank in Falmouth and Woods Hole, 508-627-4266. Vidal Metalwork, 508-457-9035. And Steve's Pizzeria and More, 508-457-9454.
Additional support provided by Stop and Shop, Windfall,
First virtual town meeting. This is going to be a little different than Zooms that you might be familiar with in the past, and that's why we've had a couple of townwide precinct meetings so that individuals could test out how this system works. Your view is going to be different than most meetings you've attended. The technical limitations of the Zoom webinar prevent us from showing all town meeting members on video while also allowing them to vote. Town meeting members will see and hear the moderator and any individual recognized by the moderator to speak. You will not see yourself or other town meeting members on the video, except when an individual has been recognized by the moderator to speak. Before we get to the substance of the November town meeting warrant, a few words on how the virtual meeting will be conducted. Town meeting members who want to speak should use the raise hand function at the bottom toolbar to be recognized by the moderator. The moderator and others assisting with the meeting will see a list of individuals in the order in which the hands were raised. When the moderator recognizes you by name to speak, there will be a short delay while you're being moved into the Zoom meeting video. When you see yourself appear on the screen, please unmute yourself by clicking the microphone button at the bottom left of your screen and identify yourself by name and precinct. Town meeting members who wish to make a point of order should use the Q&A function at the bottom toolbar by typing point of order in the question and answer field. A staff person will inform me that you have a point of order, and I'll call on you to speak, and then you'll be brought into the video just like all other speakers. The question and answer function may only be used for points of order. So if you have a question about a warrant article or something at the town meeting, you need to raise your hand and get on the speaker list. But in order to interrupt a speaker when there's a parliamentary problem, if I've made a mistake in the conduct of the meeting, then go into the Q&A and type point of order. Town meeting members will vote by using a poll window that will magically appear on your screen when I call for a vote. Please vote as soon as you can, and I will give you fair warning when polling is about to close. Now, if everyone at home could get a pencil or a pen, I'm going to give you an email address and a phone number that you can use for technical difficulties during this meeting. So I'll mention this up, and I believe we have a graphic that they're going to put on the screen with the phone number. If you have any technical questions during the meeting, you can email virtualtownmeeting@falmouthma.gov. If you need to call rather than email during the meeting, you'll call 646-558-8656. And then you'll be prompted to enter a code. The code is 962-142-5347. Again, the phone number is 646-558-8656. The code is 962-142-5347. And you'll see it at the bottom of your screen right now. It's very small, unfortunately, but it's at the bottom highlighted in like a blue. Oh, there we are. We're zooming in on it. You may be asked for a participant ID. If they do ask you for a participant ID, just hit the pound sign or the hashtag sign. You do not have to enter that. Just hit the pound sign if they ask you for that ID. The first order of business needed at town meeting will be to establish a quorum. And under the statute, the second order of business is for us to take a vote to decide whether or not town meeting members on the Zoom platform want to continue the meeting using this platform. So the first order of business will be a quorum. IT, could you please put the quorum poll up? Town meeting members, you should now see a poll in the middle of your screen that says attendance. Are you present? Please press yes if you are present, and then hit submit. Again, all town meeting members should press yes on the attendance poll that just popped up and then hit submit. When we're done with this poll, what you're going to see is a pop-up window with the results as a percentage. I will have the actual numbers, and so I will announce the actual numbers so that you can know what those percentages make out to. Obviously, this one's going to be 100% of those voted yes, unless you vote no. If so, I'll have IT disconnect you. So vote yes if you're here. Okay, IT, I think we're ready to close the poll for the quorum and display the results. By a counted vote of 193 present, unlike the last town meeting, we have a quorum and we're now in session. For those of you that have that result, you can hit the close button at the bottom of the screen and that little poll window will disappear. The second order of business at a virtual town meeting by state statute is for all town meeting members present and voting to vote on whether or not to commence business at the town meeting remotely by means of the Zoom video telephone conferencing platform. IT, would you please put up the poll to see if the town meeting members want to continue town meeting via Zoom? In this one, it's your choice, yes or no. And if a majority of you present and voting vote yes, then we will continue with the meeting. All town meeting members present, please vote yes or no to continue the town meeting. Okay, I think that's sufficient time. IT, would you please display the results? by a counted vote of 192 in favor and 4 opposed. The motion carries, and we will conduct this town meeting virtually. Okay, so live from Falmouth Town Hall, it's Monday night. At this point, we're going to do our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll recognize Falmouth's IT department, who put this whole show together, to present the flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this point, I'll recognize Falmouth Town Clerk Michael Palmer for our invocation.
Heavenly Father, may our meeting this evening be not only an exercise of caring, concern for our community and its residents, but also an example of how we can overcome obstacles, an example of how a community can agree and disagree and still be a community. We ask you to watch over and protect our families. May your gift.
Amen. Tonight, for our moment of silence, we want to recognize a long-time town meeting member, Richard Kendall. IT, could you please put the graphic up? This is Mr. Kendall coming in to town meeting to receive recognition 6 years ago for his 50th anniversary of being a town meeting member. Mr. Kendall served almost 57 years as a town meeting member in Falmouth, and for a number of years served in the Great and General Court in Boston. He was actually one of my predecessors for the seat that I hold today. So in honor of Richard Kendall, who has passed since our last meeting, let's have a moment of silence. Colors post. Okay, at this time, I'd like to start with the dispensing of the reading of the warrant. Madam Chairman, for the main motion.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. I move to dispense with the reading of the warrant, except for the officer's return.
Okay, you've all heard the main motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. And we'll dispense with the reading of the warrant. Mr. Clerk, I ask that a warrant become an official part of the record. At this turn, I'll read the officer's return of the warrant. By virtue of this warrant, I have this day notified and summoned the inhabitants of the town of Falmouth qualified to vote on town affairs as said warrant directs by posting an attested copy thereof in town hall and every precinct in the town. And signed by our constable, Kevin Casey. Okay, we are going to use a blanket vote tonight. It's a short warrant, but I do want to use a blanket. What I'm going to do is go through each of the articles like I always do and call your attention to it. And if you would like to hold an article, use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. Now, I have a Donna Hurst who has her hand raised. Donna, would you please put your hand down at this time until we commence the blanket vote? Thank you. So we will go through each of the articles once at a time. And then once we go through them with a description, I'll just go through them by a number. And then we will take a vote to accept those that are not held on the blanket as recommended as the official action of this town meeting. Article 1. is a hold. This is the capital improvement budget. Article 2, non-capital. Got a hold. Yeah. Yeah, no, I got Doug Brown holding this one. Okay, Doug, could you put your hand down now? And Donna, could you put your hand down again? Article 3 is a hold for the main motion. Article 4, to authorize the Board of Assessors with the concurrence of the Board of Selectmen to enter into a payment in lieu of taxes agreement with the Barnstable County Agricultural Society for photovoltaic solar arrays. IT, could you please bring Donna Hurst over?
Mr. Moderator, Donna Hurst has a technical problem with her raised hand function. We've worked with her on this several times during a precinct meeting, 3 or 4 times. I've chatted with her as well, and I suggest that we simply ignore the raised hand for Donna Hurst.
Okay, that's why I was bringing her over to ask her if she was trying to hold an article or not.
We did try that multiple times at a precinct meeting.
Okay. Maybe IT could give her a call and find out what the problem is there. Otherwise, we're going to have to do something different because this keeps popping up for me. Any holds on Article 4? Article 5. This begins a series of articles relative to the Home Rule Charter. Article 5 deals with the policy leadership section of the town charter. Article 6, another home rule charter dealing with other elected governmental bodies and officers. Article 7, home rule charter dealing with the duties and powers of the town manager. Article 8, a home rule charter dealing with appointed town governmental bodies. And Article 9, town charter dealing with appointed town governmental bodies, deleting a section and adding a section. Okay, I'm going to go through again by number. Number 1 is a hold. Number 2 is a hold. Number 3 is a hold. Number 4. Number 5. Number 6. Number 7. Number 8. And number 9. Mr. Chairman of the Finance Committee for the main motion.
Mr. Moderator, I move that all articles that have been passed and not held be and hereby are adopted as recommended as the official action of this meeting, and that the necessary monies for the same shall be raised and appropriated or as otherwise specified.
Okay, you've all heard the main motion to accept the blanket vote. All those in favor, we're going to have to do a poll on this. So IT, could we put up a poll for the blanket? All those in favor of the blanket vote, press yes, and then hit submit.
David, the guy on the phone is
So this is the blanket vote. Again, if you are voting in favor, press yes, oppose no, and then hit submit. Okay, I think we're ready to close out the poll, IT, on the blanket vote and show the results. By a counted vote of 199 in favor and 1 opposed, the blanket vote carries. Mr. Chairman, for notification.
Mr. Moderator, I hereby serve notice of reconsideration of all articles passed under the blanket vote.
Okay, thank you. Notice of reconsideration has been served. And we'll start now with Article 1. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $4,832,500 from certified free cash and $870,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund for the purposes of the article and for the funds to be expended under the jurisdiction of the town manager. And then we have the spreadsheet in the motion that lists all of the capital projects. At this point, I'll recognize our IT department, finance department, I think for an overview, and then we will go into each of the sections if folks have specific questions or if you want to put any amendments on the floor. We'll do that after our opening presentation by Jennifer Mullen. Ms. Mullen.
Thank you, David. IT, can you put the presentation up on the screen for me, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry, Jennifer.
Yes?
I'm sorry, I need to have the main motion on the floor.
Oh, okay, sorry.
First, I'm used to just doing that, looking at Keith sitting here, but Keith's not here, he's at home. Mr. Chairman, for the main motion on Article 1.
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 1 as recommended.
As recommended, thank you, Ms. Mullen.
Okay, thank you. It's nice to kind of see everybody. Not really, but it's nice to be here. It's a little different this year, so just bear with me as I give this presentation virtually. This is the presentation for our capital plan and our one-time funding plan. As you know, we usually approach this in November, but now it's January. So we present this annually at the first slide, please. Thank you. So the capital plan is usually presented at the annual November town meeting. This is when we use one-time revenues to fund one-time expenses. The requests are submitted by the department heads usually around August, and they're in July, and then they're reviewed in August, and we make recommendations. The town manager makes recommendations to the select board in September, presented by the finance director and the assistant town manager. In the select board, we have a presentation, and they look at the one-time funding plan, the capital plan, and then they make a recommendation and they send it to the finance committee. And the finance committee reviews the select board's requests and makes recommendations to town meeting. So these are the recommendations from the finance committee. Next slide, please. The 10-year plan and detail sheets for funding recommendations are on the back of your warrant booklet. So if you look at the recommendations from your article, you'll have page numbers, and that will tell you exactly where the detail is for that specific item in the back of the book. And it gives you a detailed description of what we are purchasing, what we are replacing, and sometimes we'll give you a picture as well. We do have a use of one-time capital stabilization fund for our fire engine. We're requesting the use of $870,000 to fund the fire engine. And from both articles, we're using about $5.6 million use of free cash to fund these one-time capital and non-capital items. And we have $1 million allocated to the school department. Next slide, please. So some of our major initiatives this year is the Chappaquiddick Beach Phase 3 Causeway. As you know, we've been funding this over the last couple of years. The permitting has been completed, so we will begin construction. Once this is passed, we will bid this out and finish this project with Phase 3. We have a fire engine request and also fuel tank removal over at the DPW. We need to get those tanks out from underground. and get them moved. And we have vehicle replacements from the highway department and DPW, and you'll have a lot of that in the back of your warrant booklet. And we're also asking for $300,000 in wastewater treatment design for the improvements of the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, we had a total of $9.4 million in free cash. So the free cash is declining. The last quarter of fiscal 20 did, decline a little bit. So you can see our free cash declining some, but it is a modest capital plan to continue to make our progress maintaining our vehicle replacement program. And we still continue to fund major initiatives. I do want to say that we monitor our revenues monthly with our estimated receipts, and we are ready to make any changes if we see the economy not recovering as we have planned. But we are definitely managing the situation, and we are in a very good position for tonight's funding. So thank you for the presentation. So I could take questions, and we have all the departments heads here as well to take questions regarding anything with the capital plan.
Okay, why don't we start with general questions before we go through the actual individual sections. So if anyone has a general question for Ms. Mullen, please raise your hand. Choose the raise the hand function at the bottom of the screen. IT, could you please bring over Mr. Netto, Joe Netto?
Can you hear me, David?
Yeah, I can hear you. If you could turn the video on, then I'll be able to see you.
Boy, you're asking a lot here.
Well, that's all right. Just ask your question.
Okay, yeah. You don't need to.
I see you now. Yeah.
Okay. A question for Mrs. Mullins. Jennifer?
Yes.
You mentioned that all the free cash would come to for Articles 1 and 2, 5.6 million. Was that correct?
Yeah, I think for both articles together, it's about an appropriation of about 5.6 million.
Okay. So hopefully everything here will pass. What will that leave us as a balance in certified free cash going forward?
It was in the high threes because we have 9.4 certified right now, but we are coming to April town meeting with some other initiatives. So we will be planning on spending more of that and making a recommendation to do so in April.
I'm sorry, you said 9.4 million?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else have questions for Ms. Mullen? Raise your hand. You choose that function at the bottom of the screen. IT, could you please bring over Malcolm Donald? Mr. Donald, if you could unmute yourself and turn your camera on. Malcolm, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but I don't see how to unmute the camera.
Okay, if you go to that, nope, I think you just did. Yep, there you are.
Okay. Yes, is it possible to have a negative override?
Do you mean an underride?
Underride.
Call it.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, an underride, yes. There are communities, I'm sure, that have passed underrides.
Okay, and how is that accomplished?
Well, it's the same
well,
as
Mr. Donald, let me interject. It's accomplished by the document that I sent you when you asked me.
Okay,
So
I didn't see it. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Okay, that's all I need to, I got my answer. Thank you.
Okay, any other general questions on the budget? Paul Cap, IT, could you please bring over Paul Cap? Okay, I can hear you. If you could turn on your mic as well. Excuse me, your camera. Oh, you got to turn the mic back on. Paul, you're still muted. You were unmuted there for a moment. You could do that again. Paul, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, thank you. Paul Cap, Precinct 3. Just one question about the underground fuel tanks. $1 million seems exorbitant to me for a couple of fuel tanks, irregardless of the size. I'm sure the gas stations that have to replace their tanks every 20 years don't cost $1 million. So I'm concerned about that line item.
Okay, just want to let you know, we're not just replacing them, we're actually taking them out and we have to move them. So I'll have, I think Peter McConaty is on as a panelist. So I'll have him elaborate a little bit more on the cost of the fuel tanks.
Welcome, Mr. McConaty.
Good evening. Yes, good evening, Paul. Yes, actually, what we're moving forward with, if this passes, is a design build contract with government spending. The typical fuel tank replacement could be 1.5 to 1.8. Town Public Works actually has to work with the contractor to keep the cost down to the 1.1.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so before we start asking questions on specific line items, this is general questions of the budget there. So, Ms. Price, I see your hand is up. If it's not a general question, could you put your hand down until we get to the section? If your hand stays up, then I'll know it's a general question. Okay, IT, could you please bring over Esther Price? Okay, Ms. Price, if you could unmute yourself. There we go. And turn on your camera.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi. Just a quick question, Jennifer. You're so thorough in going over all this. The article in the paper last week going over all the different budgets and what was approved. When did town meeting, did that ever come before town meeting? Was it approved?
I can straighten that out for you. It is confusing. Usually we hold this town meeting in November, for the capital. But right now, since this meeting is later than we normally had, we're in the process of reviewing FY22 budgets, which will come before town meeting in April. So right now, what you read in the newspaper was the Finance Committee reviewing budgets with certain departments and bringing it to the Finance Committee level. So that will come to you in April. That hasn't come before you yet.
Okay, so even though it said that the Board of Selectmen approved?
Yes, the only town meeting can appropriate money. So
we're going to have a chance to go over that before.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, that was, thank you for straightening that out, because they don't say that. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember us ever going over that.
And it's a timing issue. We never are reviewing budgets for FY22 as we're getting ready for a capital town meeting.
Yeah,
So
what happened was the selectmen approved their version of the budget, and now it's going over to the finance committee. And then the finance committee will take the next few months to make their recommendations and do their research. And then that will be on your warrant for the April town meeting. Okay. All right. So anyone else, general, and then we'll start getting into the sections. Okay. Does anyone have a specific question relative to information technology, network switch, rotational update? General government. This is golf equipment and election booths. Public safety. This is police vehicle replacement, fire engines, and emergency generators. Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, if you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm not sure if my video is on.
Not yet.
Okay. Let's see. It's nothing blocked here.
It is now. It is now.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move an amendment to this article, if I could, please.
Okay.
So I move to add a line item under public safety, reserve fire rescue vehicle suitable for service at the West Falmouth station for $100,000 and to further transfer said sum from certified free cash. And if I would offer an explanation to that.
Sure. So we have an amendment to add a line item for a reserve fire rescue vehicle suitable for the West Falmouth station at, what was the number again?
$100,000.
$100,000 from certified free cash.
Yes, sir.
So that's the amendment. So at this point, I'm going to ask my speakers that have your hands up, could you take your hands down unless you're going to speak on this amendment? And then we'll cue you back up. Mr. Brown.
So the reason for this offer of this amendment is recently I figured out that we don't have a reserve vehicle in town. And when we need to service a vehicle or if there's one that's down for repair, we usually take a vehicle, and I guess oftentimes it's the one that's in the West Falmouth station, and use it to shift around. So I think that's a little bit of a concern, and I think that I would like to see a reserve vehicle in town that can be used either at West Falmouth or any station where there's a vehicle that might be out of service for any particular reason. I talked to the chief prior to this meeting at our select board meeting, and he felt like my original amendment was $200,000, and he felt that was excessive. He's looked around and he feels like he could find a vehicle for $75 and outfit it for maybe another $25. And if he needed to use a couple of dollars from his own budget, he could do that if it became apparent that he needed to do that. There's no immediate need for this vehicle. According to the chief, his vehicle works. It's in West Falmouth. But personally, I feel as a select board member, we have an obligation to fund these things when we see them. And I feel like, even though this is a little bit out of order, I think it's appropriate to do this and also reassure the people in West Falmouth that we intend to serve that area until we have a suitable station to replace it. That's my reasoning.
Okay. IT, could you bring Ms. Braga over, please?
Thank you. Sorry, I just have the two different devices here, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm on the right one. I just wanted to supplement Selectman Brown's comments to say that we had if anyone had joined us, we had a very robust and very long conversation as a board this evening about this issue, and with some very helpful input from Chief Smith, who really noted he's done quite a bit of research, as Doug has indicated, and that while he feels very comfortable with the suitability of the engine that's currently in West Falmouth in the sense that it has most recently been looked at and it's constantly being maintained, he certainly recognized, as we did, the concern about not having a replacement for that particular station. And so, this board didn't vote on it because it wasn't on our agenda, but, I would support what Doug is putting forward. And I think that we we feel very confident that that particular amount of money will be sufficient, and that it will really ensure that we have that constant coverage in that particular district of town.
Okay, IT, could you bring over Ann Connolly, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yep.
But you can't see me, right?
Can't see yet, but I can hear you.
Okay, here I am.
Yep.
Okay, now? Hi. Okay, so Ann Connolly, Precinct 6. I actually didn't mean to hit the raise your hand button, but I'm going to take it as a sign from God. And I'm just going to say a comment, which is great that the selectmen think we need an extra vehicle there for a backup or for anywhere in town. I don't disagree with that. Tough to use a vehicle unless there's staff. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, next on my list is Paul Sellers.
Hi, good evening. Paul Sellers, Precinct 6. I just want to wholeheartedly support the amendment that Selectman Brown's put forward. We feel here in West Falmouth, it's definitely a necessary element to keeping the station open. Not having the backup vehicle and using the West Falmouth truck to supplement the other areas in town certainly leaves a void for many of us, we feel, safety-wise in West Falmouth. The purchase of another vehicle is paramount, and trying to keep that station open until we finally have a combination of West and North Falmouth station that's built. And we all know that that is years away at best. So we do need to have a viable plan to maintain safety and integrity of that station. So I would ask that you support this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sellers. Next on my list is Peter Hargraves.
Okay, I should be on, yes?
Yep, I can hear you and see you. Welcome.
Well, the select board graciously allowed me to participate, and from what I heard, I want to clarify my understanding of the amendment, which is this is a fund, an amount of money, $100,000 for a reserve vehicle should it be needed under emergency conditions if the one in the West Falmouth fire station actually breaks down and can't be repaired. That vehicle is in excellent condition now and is expected to be serviceable for another couple of years. So I object to this amendment in principle that we would respond to any department in town, the fire, the police, the DPW, that has a high capital expenditure on an emergency basis to maintain town services. And so if we have free cash and a balance, that's good, and a testimony to town administration and financial management. But I think it's a bad idea to establish as a precedent that a department have a slush fund for the possibility of an emergency need. And so that money should reside with the town in the treasury as free cash until it's needed, and not as a contingency item in the fire department budget. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Neto is next on my list. Hey, Joe, just got to unmute. Just need you to unmute. There we go.
Yeah, there's a little delay.
Okay, go ahead.
Joe Netto, Precinct 9. I would like to speak in favor of this motion, and I can wholeheartedly support Selectman Brown's effort in this. I think something that was missing from the previous speaker, if you listen to what Mr. Brown said, this right now would be, if we purchase this, which I hope we do, would be the spare vehicle. So when a main vehicle in any station in any part of town goes down, that's what we do not have right now. As part of this Article 1, we're going to spend $870,000 to buy a fire truck, but it takes approximately, I've been told, a year to get that in town before that arrives in Falmouth. So this isn't only for West Falmouth. This is a spare vehicle for everyone to ensure the safety of the people that live in the town of Falmouth. And I think for $100,000, that's a small price tag to pay to ensure public safety in the fire department. I would hope you'd support the amendment. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Joe. IT, next I have Barbara Schneider. Hi, Barbara.
Good evening. I am just speaking because I'm concerned not about this purchase, but how this purchase is being introduced tonight and why this wasn't introduced all along the way in the budget process and the discussions with the chief. I remember some town meetings ago when somebody stood up and asked to take $500 and put it in the library fund for something. And we had a huge debate at town meeting about that process and that this wasn't the time that you did such a thing. It would be one thing if this suddenly became an issue, but it's not that it's suddenly become an issue. And I just would like perhaps the chief to explain why all of a sudden this is on town meeting floor tonight and wasn't part of the whole plan. Thank you.
Okay, Chief.
Good evening. Well, this is being proposed by Selectman Brown. This discussion revolves around the current engine that's in the West Falmouth station. And currently that engine is the only one that can fit into that station, and we do not have a reserve vehicle. My request this evening is for the $870,000 to purchase a new vehicle that would allow us to have that truck placed in service and pull one of our existing engines out of service to be used as a reserve. And thereby that would diminish the use of the West Falmouth engine. The West Falmouth engine is in good shape. Our mechanics have consistently assured me of that, and work has been done to ensure that it has passed its current tests that are done annually, and we don't foresee any issues with that particular engine. However, what has been expressed to everybody is we don't have a crystal ball, and we cannot assure everybody that at any given moment we may have a vehicle that is placed out of service. We have contingencies in place, but the concern is what fits in that station, because the station's 90 years old and it accommodates vehicles in that era and beyond, but newer vehicles would not fit in that station. So what I understand that this is being proposed to town meeting to assist us should it be necessary to place a vehicle in that station.
Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Am I unmuted? Okay.
Yep.
I agree with Ms. Schneider's concern, and typically I vote against things that are last minute like this myself. But when I found out that we don't even have a reserve vehicle and it's going to take another year or so, and that's in a good year, and with COVID, we might have more delays. I just don't want to be without a reserve vehicle for a year and not have a contingency in the budget for it. If we don't vote this at this town meeting, we got to wait till next year's capital town meeting. And so I'm just not comfortable not having a reserve vehicle or money in the bank to buy it if we need it. Thank you.
Okay, IT, if you could bring over Peter Clark.
Hello.
Hey.
Peter Clark, Precinct 1. If I understand the discussion so far, then what I'm hearing is that we're going to spend $100,000 to get a used vehicle that we can have ready quickly in case the West Falmouth vehicle or some other breaks down. And we need that for the period of time until we get the new $870,000 vehicle, which then I think I heard the chief say would free up a backup vehicle. So we're spending $100,000 to be safe for about a year, if I'm got this right. Then we can resell that vehicle and make some of the money back, or are we essentially spending $100,000 for something that we might not need for the next year? Thank you.
Mr. Brown? You need to unmute. Doug, you have to unmute first.
In response to that, I'd just say that it's certainly going to be longer than a year before we have a new Northwest station combined. So this vehicle could also be a reserve in case we have a problem with that, I think, 26-year-old vehicle that serves West Falmouth. So there's two advantages to this. It's going to be a reserve vehicle for now, and also a reserve vehicle until we build the new Northwest combination, or such time as we don't need it.
Okay, IT, if you could bring Ms. Braga over. Or you're actually on both sides. That's good. You raise your hand over there and okay, gotcha.
Yep. I'll just come out over here.
We actually have so many people on this side that they don't fit on my screen. I was told I was going to be able to see everybody and they could raise their hand, but I can't see them. So,
me either. I just wanted to clarify that, and Doug, please correct me if I'm wrong. The funds are to be held for a situation where a replacement vehicle is needed, and it is spent at the discretion of the chief. So the idea would be to have those funds readily available if there were some catastrophic problem with this particular fire engine. It is not, Doug, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because we talked about this a couple different ways, and I want to be sure it's really clear to town meeting. I don't hear in your motion that there's a requirement to purchase that vehicle. It's setting funds aside for an emergency situation. Is that correct?
I don't want to dictate too much how the chief operates his business. Personally, I would be happy if he would go out and find a vehicle at his leisure when he has one that comes up, because they're not always available at the right moment. But I'm not going to dictate to him whether or not he goes out and buys a vehicle tomorrow or next week. If he wants to wait until he thinks there's a problem with that vehicle, that'll be his discretion. But personally, I would prefer if it were purchased sooner rather than later.
Mr. Moderator, I just wanted to, perhaps if Mr. Brown could just read that at some point again. I just want to make sure from some of the comments I've heard, it feels like there's maybe two different understandings of what this particular amendment is seeking to accomplish. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware of exactly what Mr. Brown is exactly how it reads. That's all.
I'll read it again. Mr. Moderator, I move to add a line item under public safety, reserve fire rescue vehicle suitable for service at the West Falmouth station for $100,000, and further to transfer said sum from certified free cash. So I left it open there. I don't want to dictate that vehicle will be purchased immediately, but that would be my preference, and that's the intent of the motion.
And just to be clear, a town meeting can't dictate the purchase of anything. Our role in this process is to authorize funding, and then it's up to the Board of Selectmen and the administrator to take action on those authorizations. So I just want to make sure town meeting members understand that with the entire budget, our role is to authorize and appropriate. If they don't want to spend the money on anything, any line item, that's up to them. But that's the legal separation of powers. I want to be clear on that because I saw a lot of email traffic where folks haven't really been paying attention to how this works. So let's pay attention to how this works, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. That's exactly what I wanted to have clarified. You said it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, next on my list is Dan Scherer, IT. If you could bring Mr. Scherer over. Mr. Scherer?
Yep, I'm here.
Yep, go ahead.
Well, Dan Scherer, precinct 5 over here. I live by the fire station in West Falmouth. And I will tell you, it's fairly nerve-wracking when a fire engine has to have its oil changed or a new transmission or whatever it has to be from, let's say, North Falmouth. And our engine goes there. And I don't know of any other town, and I've checked this out all around us, that doesn't have a spare fire engine. If you have more than one, well, even if you have one fire port station, because we're always having service done on something. And every time we have service in East Falmouth, West or North Falmouth, Woods Hole, the West Falmouth Fire Station goes. Every time we need a backup, the West Falmouth Fire engine goes. I think it almost puts more mileage on it than any other engine that we have in town per year. I'm not sure of that, but I would like a check. And I don't think anybody in East Falmouth would be very happy if they found out that for 3 days or 2 days or 5 days, they didn't have an engine. And that's why we need a backup engine. We need it for everybody. Thank you.
Okay. IT, my next speaker is Susan Moran. Senator Moran.
Am I unmuted, Mr. Moderator?
I've got you, Senator.
Okay,
and town
great.
meeting member.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity. Just want to relate a quick story about having been in a backyard in Falmouth that was incredibly terrained and difficult to get to, much like many neighborhoods in East Falmouth or Woods Hole or otherwise. And the chief was driving with his son and very astutely noticed a fire in the woods that could have been quite extensive in terms of acreage, stopped and with his professional crew took care of it. But there was quite a timing consideration because the trucks could not get to that spot and or had a challenge or difficulty. And the chief managed it expertly. And I will say that if we had a nimble vehicle, the way that Selectman Brown has suggested as part of the force, it would have made things a lot easier for the chief and his staff. So I think the concept, not to mention in summer traffic, with you've known, if anyone has commuted from Boston and has had an ambulance behind them trying to navigate traffic, that what is proposed, as I understand it, is the kind of nimble vehicle that could navigate summer traffic, get somewhere quickly if there's an emergency, and may also get to terrain that is also potentially difficult. So I just wanted to throw that into the consideration. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, IT, next on my list is Ms. Borden. Hi, Ms. Borden.
Hi. Meg Borden, Precinct 7. First of all, I'm definitely, I think what Selectman Brown has submitted is a compelling argument. And I'm always willing to promote public safety in the town. And I feel very fortunate that I live in East Falmouth, where we have a very well-staffed as far as I know, have a very well-staffed fire station. And I would like to see that be accomplished throughout the town. And I think this is not an unreasonable request that Selectman Brown has made. And I also recognize that our fire chief is new to the position and, you know, maybe isn't looking to ask for a lot extra. And at this town meeting, I would really like to support Selectman Brown's suggestion and offer them the extra money to be able to have that fire engine in West Falmouth.
Okay. Our next speaker is Richard Goulart.
I'm trying. What do they do?
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Asked you to start your video.
Video. Hello? Yeah, I'm there, but I can't. I need to be unmuted.
You are.
Hello? I'm not getting anything.
You're on.
Yeah, you're on.
Hello?
Yeah, no, you were unmuted. The problem was I wasn't unmuted.
Having slight technical problems here.
No, that wasn't you. That was me. I muted myself in between and I forgot to shut it off. Go ahead, Mr. Goulart.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I don't know if this question would actually go to Mr. Brown or if it would go to the chief. I'm not opposed to this amendment, but I have a question. Is there someone out there that leases these engines? That way, at the end of a year and a half, we're not looking to try and sell it for what we got it for or for less, possibly. I'm just looking at the financial end of it. That's all.
Chief, you want to take that one? Do they lease these guys?
There are lease programs, but I would defer to Jennifer Mullen with regards to how vehicles are obtained.
Yes, we do not enter into lease agreements with capital equipment. We usually have the cash to be able to purchase something. And the other thing is that leases are a form of borrowing, which is a different appropriation. And usually it's not financially feasible to actually lease. And this, from what I know, that this appropriation, this amendment that's being offered would be for replacement. It wouldn't be for something that would be brand new. So there's, if you're buying something used, there's usually not a lease program for that. And even if there was, we would not be interested.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, IT, next on my list is Peter Wasdorf.
Peter Wasdorf, Precinct 1. I called a question.
I've got one more speaker. Could you just hold on for that one and then we'll take the vote only so we don't have to poll it all out? Peter? Peter, will you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Peter, would you withdraw the motion? I only have one more speaker, just so we don't have to
withdraw the motion.
Just so we don't have to poll him, but I think I get where you're coming from. Thank you. All right, IT, Mr. Hargraves, and then we're going to take the vote.
Okay, Peter Hargraves, Precinct 9. I'm sorry for taking your time, and thank you for my second opportunity to speak. I want to thank the chair of the select board for her effort and attempt to clarify the motion. Nevertheless, the motion is worded deceptively, the amendment, and it's in the following speakers. You can see that there's going to be an effort to put pressure on a chief to buy an engine we don't need once this money is in his budget. The outcome of the select board discussion was just to provide a reserve so we could act quickly if we needed it. It doesn't need to be in the fire department budget for that purpose to be accomplished. Every department doesn't need their own capital stabilization fund. I urge you to vote against this.
Okay, we're going to do a poll on this. So IT, if you could prepare a poll for the amendment. This amendment is to add a line item for $100,000 for a reserve fire rescue vehicle to come from certified free cash. Here's the amendment poll, just came up. All those in favor of the amendment to add the $100,000 for the fire vehicle signify by pressing yes and then hit submit. All those opposed, press no and then hit submit. Again, this is on the amendment. Okay, we have a participant, town meeting member who's actually on the phone. So when I get this final tally up, we're going to add one to one of the two categories once we get the phone result of that individual. So I think we're about ready to close the poll. Before we close the poll, Mr. LeMay? Mr. LeMay, would you unmute yourself and let us know how you're going to vote on this? Yeah, he's on our side, but he's muted. Mr. LeMay, could you unmute?
Vote yay.
Okay, so we have one additional yes. IT, if you could close the poll. We have 132 Zoom and 1 on the phone. So for 133 in favor and 72 opposed, the amendment passes. Thank you, IT. Thank you, Mr. LeMay. Anything else under public safety? Highway. This is road maintenance, construction, sidewalks, and bike path maintenance. Mr. Donald. Yep. Mr. Donald, you have to unmute.
Hello?
Yep, I got you now.
Great. I have an amendment to this article. I move to delete $870,000 for the purchase of the fire engine to be reconsidered subsequent to fully staffing the West Falmouth Fire Station.
The virtual town meeting.
Yeah. Just like raising heck about the compost.
Okay, so this amendment is to delete the line item for fire engine, $870,000.
Correct.
Okay, discussion on the amendment. Chief.
I would ask that not be
Where did you think about
approved by town meeting. We're still in need of a new engine to continue our ongoing capital improvement plan. This new engine will allow us to place in service and take a 2009 vehicle out of service. And this other engine that is being proposed for the 100,000 would allow us to continue or to operate out of the West Falmouth station. So I would urge town meeting to support the $870,000 request for a new engine.
Okay, Mr. Brown.
I'd just like to speak against that. I'm sorry. This engine purchase has been long planned, and it's essential that we continue with that. I know it's a statement about the West Falmouth staffing. The chief's doing his best to get the staffing. We just had a meeting before this town meeting. He explained the current status of where he's at. He's trying his best. It's a very difficult situation right now to hire people, and it's not for lack of trying, believe me. So when he gets the people, he's going to staff that station. Let's not throw a monkey wrench into his plans for public safety. Thank you.
Okay, next on my list, I have Ms. Braga.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just want to emphasize for town meeting members, we all know how COVID has impacted our day-to-day lives in the last, 11 months, almost, coming upon a year soon, or a year, but until the impact really hit us. And it has been the same at the level of, public safety. They weren't running fire academies. It has been incredibly difficult. Our chief has been working, dedicating many hours to trying to get individuals hired. And we've hired more firefighters this year than in any year that I can recall. And it is an ongoing real challenge between some of the challenges with civil service and how COVID has impacted those lists coming out, those tests being given, and then the impact of running some of those academies to get up and running and have people who are ready to be hired, to do the physicals, to do the psych evals that are required. Chief Smith is, on a regular basis, we get updates, is allocating a huge portion of his time to getting firefighters hired. We all understand the frustration. It is why, the frustration about folks in West Falmouth and that station. We have a regular ongoing conversation with administration, with the union, with Chief Smith, with this predecessor Chief Smalls about this, and to, really cut the legs out from our entire fire department by removing a much needed piece of equipment that is absolutely essential to public safety. I understand where Mr. Donald is coming from in terms of concerns and frustration. Absolutely, I get it. But this, in my opinion, is not the way to go about it. We are hobbling a fire department that we have actually voted with an override, and with some of our budget tonight, we're trying to make a concerted effort to build it up to where it really needs to be. And this takes us backwards. So I'd really urge folks, voice your frustration in the other ways that we know you are able to do so. We've heard you. You can see that by some of the votes that's already have been taken tonight. But I would really urge folks not to support this particular motion, because I do think it's harming our response, our response times and our capability across the town, including in West Falmouth.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment to strike out the fire engine for $870,000? IT, I have John Nolan. Okay, John, if you could just unmute your mic.
I would just call the question.
Okay. You were the last one on the list, so I think we're ready to go. IT, if we could prepare a poll for deleting fire engine for $870,000. This is the amendment offered by Mr. Donald to remove the line item. Okay, all town meeting members, you have your poll up. If you want to remove the line item, press yes. If you want the line item to remain, press no, and make sure you hit submit after your choice. And Mr. Lemay, can you give us your voice vote?
Vote nay.
Mr. Lemay votes no. Okay, last call for town meeting members. If you would like to remove the line item for the fire engine, press yes and hit submit. If you do not want to remove it, press no and then hit submit. Okay, IT, if you could show us the results of the survey for the poll. We have 12 in favor, 192 opposed, plus one voice vote, 193 opposed, and the amendment fails. Okay, anything else under public safety? Ms. Medeiros.
I just was going to ask for clarification on the last article, but I figured it out. So thank you.
Okay. All right, anything under highway department? This is road maintenance, sidewalks, bike path maintenance. Michael Zmuda.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator.
Good evening.
On the bike pass, I'm all in favor of spending that $80,000. My question for the board is what is preventing the town from monetizing the bike path parking lots so that we can generate some user revenue for the people that use the bike path, just like we do with the beaches, the golf course, the docking fees at the harbor. I'd like to hear some discussion about why that hasn't been done over the years.
Okay, who wants to address that?
Mr.
Ms.
Moderator?
Braga. Yep,
Yes,
Ms. Braga.
I was just going to ask if perhaps town council can weigh in on that at all. I will say that this board, as long as I've been on it, hasn't discussed that. I know part of it is certainly for a long time, the goal was to really encourage the use as that bike path extended and was developed over time to really encourage the use of that as a place where folks could go and use that without a cost associated with it. And so, perhaps town council may have further explanation of whether or not that is allowed or anything that's been proposed in the past.
Do we have town council on here?
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Duffy. Yep.
I believe there was some discussion a number of years ago when we acquired the lot off of Depot Avenue, which used to be the grain mill, that it was going to be charged for parking there. I don't know. Obviously nothing came of it. But as far as I know, no one has ever discussed this before. And this is a subject that if the board wants to take it up, they could consider it.
Okay. Anything else under highway? Fleet services. A series of truck and tractor purchases and a van. Mr. Brown?
I was just going to comment on the previous question. We've had a recent inquiry from a private citizen about the possibility of privatizing those lots, but no actually review by the board, just an email. So it's interesting that this question has come up again. That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Water meters. No IT. I have Helen Gordon.
That's an error. Every time Mr. Brown speaks, a raised hand goes up on my screen. That's all. And I was trying to turn it off.
Okay. Anything else under water meters? Wastewater, sewer cleaning, engineering administration, coastal erosion, municipal fuel tank program. Mr. Rowitz. Mr. Brown, could you just shut your video off? Thank you. IT, I've got Mr. Rowitz next on my list.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ray Rowitz, Precinct 5. I had a question for Mr. McConerty and regarding the underground fuel storage tanks that are at the DPW. It's my understanding that those tanks are dual wall fiberglass tanks. They have an interstitial space between the two tanks that's continuously monitored, and also there's secondary containment so that if there's a leak in the pipe or if there's a leak in the tank, you'd be notified immediately by the monitoring equipment. What I'm wondering is if there has been any breach in the system that has caused those tanks to indicate that they were failing. That's my first question. My second question is, the tanks that are being planned, are they above ground storage tanks? Are they steel? And is there secondary containment for them as well? Thank you.
Mr. McConerty.
Yes, good evening. The answer to your first question is the tanks were installed at Public Works in 1987, and they are double wall fiberglass tanks. The reason that they were replaced is the tanks before them were leaking, and we had a Mass DEP spill. Basically, we were under Mass DEP audits for annual reporting for about 15, 20 years. So what happens is the tanks are 1987, so they're about 30 years old, 25 years old, 33 years old. And what had happened is our insurance company for the town is basically saying they no longer want to insure us. And the reason is that the fuels that they use today, it's being explained to me, is that the fuels that they use today have solvents in it that actually eat away at the solvents of the tanks of the tanks that were built in 1987. So the tanks are compromised. So they've been in there for going on 35 years now, and they're underground tanks. The plan is to remove them to above ground double wall fiberglass tanks. So they'll be coming out of the ground and they'll be above ground, sitting on top of the ground.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else under engineering?
Yeah, I do too.
Schools? Ms. Connolly.
Hi, waiting for it to come up. But so I had a question about the chiller that from the precinct meeting. Nobody ever got back to me with that. I'm curious, about what a chiller is. I assume it has to do with the AC and what specifically is broken about it. And aren't we under some sort of service or warranty situation? It appears to me to be a huge line item. And the building's not that old, or the renovations.
Okay, Mr. Murphy?
Yes, thank you. Everybody can hear me?
Yep.
So the chiller is it's a train engine size piece of equipment in the basement of Falmouth High School. It's, I believe it's 15 or 16 years old. The lifespan is about 20 years old. We had a hard failure 2 summers ago that stopped air conditioning, but more importantly, taking water out of the air, right? And that becomes a significant problem in a building such as the high school that was built to have that recirculation all the time. So what we're doing with this chiller is to put in a new chiller. Hopefully we'll be able to get some, attach it to the original chiller so that we'll have a new chiller and a backup chiller and extend the life cycle of the initial chiller. But regardless of whether we can do that, we do need to plan to replace this existing chiller.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Oh, is that, she's from IT.
Okay, any other questions around the school department? Okay, hearing none. This will be a main motion on the budget with one amendment that was adding the $100,000 for the other fire engine to come from certified free cash. So the main motion is as printed with the additional line item. Mr. Zweig, do you have another question before we take this vote? IT, if you could bring him over. Mr. Zweig?
There, I'm unmuted. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Just a quick question. On this, has the Cape Light Compact been contacted about possibly assisting with this as an energy efficiency, for energy efficiency purposes and possibly co-financing as, and I have the same question for the chiller that's in the, well, in this article, yes. So I just have a question on whether that was.
Okay, Mr. Murphy.
Compact. Thank you.
We're actually working with Rise Engineering through the Cape Light Compact to review all of our systems in accordance with what the town is doing. And if there is kind of rebates, it's something that you can apply to after the fact. So an example of that is we replaced a boiler or boilers over the past few years. And the process is a very long process, and we are in line to get some rebates from the utilities for that. But it's years after the actual project. So we will continue along with that process to make sure that if there is any rebates, utility rebates that we'd be eligible for, that we would receive them.
Okay, I would suggest you contact the Cape Light Compact.
We are into Rise Engineering is the engineering company for the Cape Light Compact.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, IT, we have the poll ready here. This is to approve the capital budget as amended. All those in favor will choose yes. All those opposed, no. Article 1 as amended. This is the capital budget with the additional $100,000 for a fire engine. Mr. Lemay, if you'd like to cast your vote over the phone.
Vote aye.
Mr. Lemay, yes. Okay, all those in favor of the capital budget, yes. All those opposed, no. And I think we had enough time, so IT, if we can close out the poll. 195 yeses, one over the phone for 196, and one opposed. Article 2, Mr. Chairman, for the main motion.
Mr. Moderator, I move Article 2 as recommended.
As recommended, this is to transfer the sum of $832,280 from certified free cash for non-capital purchases. Mr. Brown?
I didn't realize I had my hand up. If I did, I'm sorry.
Oh, it may have been, maybe it was still up from the previous one.
I was going to comment on a couple, a while back. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, is any discussion on non-capital projects? Information technology? Public safety? Community development? Water? Wastewater? Engineering? Parks? Library? And schools? Okay, any further discussion on Article 2? Hearing none, the question will come on the main motion as recommended. IT, if you could queue us up a poll for Article 2, non-capital projects. There's that magic window. All those in favor, press yes. All those opposed, no. Mr. Lemay, if you'd like to cast your vote over the phone.
I vote aye.
Mr. Lemay votes yes. Okay, all those in favor of the capital budget, press yes and hit submit. All those opposed, no, and hit submit. Okay, IT, you can close out the poll. We have 201 yeses plus one over the phone for 202 yeses and 0 noes. Capital budget passes. Article 3. Madam Chair?
Good evening again, Mr. Moderator. I move Article 3 as printed.
I don't believe that's the full motion.
Do I need to read the?
There is a motion that
Sorry,
addresses the issues that.
I think it addresses. So let me read the article with the concurrent language.
I don't know. Do we have a slide? Does anyone know if we have a slide with this motion? Why don't you read it and we'll.
I will read it, and if they can pull up a slide. That the town vote to transfer jurisdiction of a parcel of land at the southwesterly corner of the Mullen Hall School property near the intersection of Catherine Lee Bates Road and the abandoned portion of Hamlin Avenue, which parcel has been declared not needed for school purposes by the school committee and from the school committee to the select board for municipal purposes. Said parcel being known as proposed lease area 8.1 on a plan entitled Site Plan for Number 140 Catherine Lee Bates Road, prepared for Carousel of Light Incorporated in Falmouth, Massachusetts, dated October 26, 2020, prepared by Falmouth Engineering Incorporated, and further, that the transfer be subject to the conditions determined by the school committee in its vote as of October 28, 2020, as follows. Said property shall be used for recreational purposes only. Said property shall not be used during the hours of Mullen Hall School is in session. Any structure on said property shall be located in such place to preserve and maintain views of Shivricks Pond. Any structure on said property shall be located in such place to preserve existing trees. There shall be no smoking or alcoholic beverages permitted on said property. No structure shall be erected on said property until the Mullen Hall School is able to open for class instruction without any COVID-19 restrictions. Any lease of said property shall require a removal or decommissioning bond to remove any structure and restore said property at lease end, and said property shall revert to the jurisdiction of the school committee if any use is abandoned or not used for a period of 2 years or more. And further, that the select board is thereafter authorized to lease the parcel for a defined lease term not to exceed 30 years upon such terms and conditions as it deems appropriate.
Okay, that's the main motion as presented by the chair of the Board of Selectmen, and the slides were up there as well. Okay, Mr. Clarkson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It's my pleasure to be here before town meeting tonight. My name is Troy Clarkson, and I'm the president of the nonprofit organization, the Carousel of Light Incorporated. Our organization was originally formed in 1994, and I'm very proud to be an original founding board member. We were formed back then to help preserve a local jewel, the Carousel of Light, which, as many of you know, was a hand-carved carousel created by the loving hands of local artist Lance Schinkel. Lance eventually took the carousel to California, and the carousel was dormant for several years. But back in 2013, Lance and the carousel returned to Falmouth, and he donated it to the Carousel of Light. Since 2014, with the cooperation of the school committee and the Falmouth School Department, we've operated on the grounds of Mullen Hall School. We've had developed wide community support since that time. We've operated there, and over 100,000 rides have been enjoyed by Falmouth people and visitors from all over the world. What we'd like to do, and what this article seeks, is really to take the next step in what has been a lengthy and painstaking process, where we've worked with the town administration, with the Board of Selectmen, with the superintendent and the school committee. And this is the next step in helping us secure a permanent location for the carousel here in Falmouth. It's very important, I think critical to note, that this is indeed simply the next step. It is not the last step. It is not the final step. And although there has been ample opportunity for the public to have input at the selectmen's meetings and the school committee meetings, it's important to note that town meeting, the legislative body, is simply being asked to authorize the Board of Selectmen to transfer the jurisdiction to the Board of Selectmen so that they can then conduct another public process where we will negotiate a lease. They will have public meetings and will vote on the final lease in a public meeting. So this is just the next step in that lengthy process that we've been through. The process itself was prescribed by Frank Duffy, the town council, and we've adhered very closely to that process. As the president of the board, I've provided significant information to town meeting members, including a plan for the site that was donated by Mike Borselli. We have local attorney Bob Amman, who's lent his hand and has been very helpful. And so we've provided, I think, significant information. In the few minutes I have before you tonight, I'd like to just address some of the issues that have arisen during our discussions. And of course, I'll be available after to answer any other questions. During the years that we've operated, we, as part of our lease agreement with the school department, we've made annual donations of $2,000 a year. And should we continue this process, of course, that will continue. And by saving money and not having to set up and break down every year, which costs us about $10,000 a year, we expect and hope that that amount of the donation to the school department will increase. I think there are ample examples of nonprofit use of public property in this town. The town of Falmouth, and certainly during my tenure on the Board of Selectmen years ago, probably the most prominent example of that is Highfield Hall, where the town actually took a property by eminent domain with the express purpose to then lease it to a nonprofit organization. That, of course, continues today in a very, very successful way. And so we've used that as a model, both of the process that we've used, but also the partnership that that nonprofit enjoys with the town. And that's the model we really want to set, because our purpose is very similar. We have this local work of art, this local masterpiece, really, that we've worked for many years to preserve, and we really want to provide a permanent home for it here in Falmouth. Every year when we've operated, we've provided many free rides. In fact, over the years since we've operated, since 2014, we've provided thousands of free rides, not only to individuals, but to organizations in the community. The director of the library noted in an email to some town meeting members that we've enjoyed providing them. Many of you may recognize the wooden nickels that we've provided to businesses and to other people in town. And it's important that town meeting members understand that we've never turned anyone away, and actually have a policy that if someone comes up and they can't afford the fee, then they are provided a free ride. So all of our board members live in the community. They all volunteer their time. And so supporting the community and supporting both those who can afford to support our efforts. And by the way, all of that money goes towards the preservation efforts. Our meager budget is about $60,000 a year. And that all goes towards paying the folks that man the carousel in the summer, and then regular costs like insurance, and then the setup and breakdown. I would also refer you to the memo that was issued by the town manager's office just before this town meeting, and I think that really outlines the detail that we followed and the level of attention to detail that we've kept to during this process. We enjoy wide community support from the Board of Selectmen and the school committee to the Chamber of Commerce and the Falmouth Village Association, and other numerous organizations that have supported our efforts. I will, in a minute or so, ask the moderator to yield the rest of my time to one of our board members and the president of the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce, Michael Kasparian. But one final thing to address a couple other concerns that have come up. The plan that the town provided, I think, shows that the cupola, the Eddie Marks cupola, as I call it, will be preserved and undisturbed, as will the walking path that used to be Hamlin Avenue. And so we will complement rather than interrupt the beautiful setting that exists there on the shore of Shivert's Pond. Someone did ask about trees. There is one 18-inch spruce tree that, as you can see on the plan, will be removed but replaced. But other than that, we do not anticipate disturbing any of the trees, as this is nestled into a corner of that property that's generally unused right now. And so we really hope to be long-term partners with the other users of that property in the area. Once again, thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And Mr. Moderator, if possible, I'd like to yield the last minute and a half or so to Michael Kasparian.
Okay, Mr. Kasparian.
To be promoted, yeah.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Can you see me?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, great. So thank you very much. And I just want to add to what Troy was saying. The Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors very enthusiastically does support this effort. The Chamber's been involved for over 10 years, back when Jay Zavala was president of the Chamber, in helping this organization. I very proudly sit on the Board of Directors, and to what Troy said, the Chamber itself gives a minimum of 500 free rides to people who come in that are dispersed at the Chamber. You know, not only do I support everything that Troy said, but other ways of looking at it is this is really a moving work of art that is a gift to the entire community. And if we take a bird's eye, big picture view of the downtown area, Shivert's Pond and the playground, it only enhances that entire area. Now, there's no way to dispute that this has been a success. It's been operating just 200 feet down on the other side of Mullen Hall for 6 summers now, without incident. Very enthusiastically supported by visitors as well as residents. How many kids are laughing and having a great time there, going across to the library, using the playground, bringing people downtown to, support our merchants, picnic, and over at Pegman Park. So I think that if we take a look at this, it is a gift to the entire community. Not only does it support the business community downtown, which is very important, but also the entire community. And then also back to the big picture view, there's talk and action of developing that Shiver's Pond area for access, waterways, and it would just enhance that entire area. So I would really support this. I would urge town meeting members to support this article. As Troy said, it's the next step. There'll be a lot of public meetings as to the structure and what will happen, but this carousel is old, it's cherished, and it needs to find a permanent home so we can do the work in maintaining it for future generations. Thank you.
Okay, we ready to open up to our speakers? Okay, first on my list, I have Kelly Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So it's just a clarification question about the motion. I'm just not sure whether, I'm sorry, Kelly Welch, Precinct 2, Chair of the School Committee. I just want to make sure that the motion doesn't exactly match the conditions that the school committee voted. So if it needs to exactly match, there is one condition that's left off of the motion that we, the school committee, did vote, and that says that any use shall include an appropriate fence to make sure that there's separation between the carousel and the school property. So if maybe it's a question for town council, whether or not it needs to exactly match, we would want to make that change.
Mr. Moderator,
Yeah.
just to address that. So this motion was, those were the conditions that I think had originally been voted at the first meeting. And then I think when school committee had that subsequent vote, I think that the piece about the fence may have been added at that point in time when school committee revisited it and revoted it. So maybe it didn't make it in here, but we can ask Attorney Frank Duffy if it needs to be in. There's no objection. The Board of Selectmen took all of the recommendations that we had at the time we drafted it from the school committee.
Yeah, it exactly matches the information that came from Mr. Duffy, but at the meeting, first meeting for the vote and the second, we added a condition on fencing.
So Kelly, the addition of the fence was not at the October 28th meeting?
It was at the October meeting and the later December meeting. We voted it both times. It was just not the original language that was prepared by Frank Duffy ahead of time. It was added at the meeting.
Okay, Mr. Duffy. Mr. Clarkson and Mr. Kasparian, if you could just turn off your videos a little bit because we're getting a little crowded out here.
I tried to follow the conditions that the school committee voted in. If I missed one, I apologize. It was certainly not intentional. I would think that if the selectmen would just agree that a fence is necessary, it could probably be included. Certainly you'd want a fence for security anyways. So if you want to make the amendment and add the fence, go ahead and do it. Otherwise, I think you just take the word of the selectmen. They'll include it in the lease.
So Ms. Welch, what would you like to do? Do you want to make
I
an
think it's
amendment?
important that an amendment be added to include that any use shall include an appropriate fence. If the intent is that this motion matches our motion, I think it's important to add that amendment.
One more time.
Okay, so any use shall include
An appropriate fence.
an appropriate fence. We'll just add it as number 9 at the end of the list here?
Yeah.
All right, number 9, okay. Okay, so that's an amendment.
Thank you.
Okay, yep. So everyone whose hand is up right now, I do have you on my written list. So if you could all take your hands down unless you want to speak on the amendment. So discussion now is only open on the amendment, which is to add a number 9. Any use shall include an appropriate fence. Okay, Ms. Siegel.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator, I was about to lower my hand. I don't want to speak on the amendment. I want to speak to the article. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Ms. Peterson.
Hello, Laura Peterson, Precinct 3. I just was wondering the word fence, and the only reason I haven't seen future plans, but I know I was at a park in Rhode Island that had a carousel, and it was actually in a building. Like it had a structure around it that wasn't a fence. So I don't know if barrier, I just wanted to bring that up.
If we could hold on 1 second. IT, could you bring Victoria Lowell over for a point of order?
Hi, I just wanted to know, couldn't the selectmen just accept that into their original motion rather than to have to debate it as an amendment? Because they don't object.
No, because they would have to have a duly posted meeting and vote by a majority to add it.
Oh, okay.
They would
Thank
be
you.
violating the open meeting law if they were to just do that right now.
Oh, it just seemed very simple. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes the simple things aren't so simple. Okay, so Ms. Peterson, you had a question there about...
Just the word fence. Yeah. I just don't want to prevent them from...
So let's hear back from Ms. Welch. And IT, if you could leave Ms. Welch on this side while we pen the amendment in case there's any other questions.
Hi, Kelly Welch, School Committee. So I think that the intention of the school committee was to make sure that there is a fence because there will be a retaining wall around one section of the carousel where it's situated, and that there needed to be some fencing to ensure the kids would be safe. We don't want them obviously falling over the retaining wall. So this has nothing to do with the building that might be there or the fencing around the carousel. This is actually for the entire area to make sure it's separated from the rest of the playground for safety. I don't know if that helps.
It did, thank you.
It must have helped because I just had two people take their hands down off the list. Okay, any further discussion on the amendment? Ms. Keefe?
Hi, David. Melissa Keith, Precinct 4, Secretary of the School Committee. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm having trouble finding, oh, here's my video, sorry. Sorry, every Zoom is a little different. Forgive me. I've been on a few. I'm just here to show support for Ms. Welch. The school committee, we definitely had some parameters set, and a fence was definitely one of them. It meant a lot to the school committee to have that on there. So I really applaud Ms. Welch for catching that. And again, I just want to show support that means a lot to the committee. And it's not to reiterate what Ms. Peterson was asking. This is not about the structure itself. This is just about keeping everyone safe with the retaining wall.
Any further discussion on the amendment? IT, if you could bring over Mr. Dugan. Mr. Dugan.
Mr. Moderator, I just had a question. Doesn't there need to be a legal description, a map and parcel as part of the actual article.
Yep,
sets
so the motion is a plan entitled site plan for 140, and it's got the date, so this motion has the reference to the site plan.
So is that a recorded plan, or is that a new plan that someone has just done for the town?
Well, Mr. Duffy, you wrote this one up. What's the reference here to the site plan in the motion?
This plan does not create a new lot. It just shows an area. We're not creating a lot. This is just an area to be leased. So the plan does not have to be recorded in the registry of deeds.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the amendment? Okay, the question on the amendment to add section 9, as the school committee had voted, that any use shall include an appropriate fence. IT, if you could prepare the poll for the amendment to add the fence language. There's the magic window to vote on the amendment. This amendment is to add section 9, any use shall include an appropriate fence, as voted on by the school committee. All those in favor, press yes and then hit submit. All those opposed, no, and then hit submit. Okay, this is the last chance to vote on the amendment. Vote yes if you want to add the language, no if you don't. Mr. LeMay, if you'd like to cast your vote over the phone for the amendment.
I vote aye.
Mr. LeMay votes yes. Okay, IT, we can close the poll. By a counted vote of 192 plus 1 over the phone, 193 in favor and 6 opposed. The amendment passes. Question comes back on the main motion. And I have a list, as folks raise their hands now, I'll add you to the list that existed before we went to the amendment. Ms. Suplat. IT, could you bring Miss Suplat over, Peggy Suplat?
And start video.
I hear you, Peggy.
You can hear me?
Yep.
But no video yet, huh?
No, I don't see a video, but I can hear you.
Well, we'll go without that.
Okay.
I would like to ask town meeting to please vote this article down. Please vote no. This is not a money article that we need to discuss tonight. It can wait until we can meet in person and have a more relaxed and informed discussion in an open discussion, which really is not possible at this Zoom meeting. We are being asked to transfer a parcel of land from one department to the town for the benefit of private organization, which Troy has mentioned we did for Highfield, which had its own land. But neither the selectmen or the school committee voted overwhelmingly in favor of this article. It was a split decision at both boards. The attachment to Mr. Claxon's letter of November 11th, which I only received this week, I never got it before the prior town meeting, that has the site plan that you can look at, the engineering plan, is a great plan if you're an engineer, but it does nothing to inform the lay person of the scope of the excavation and the work required for this project and the size and the appearance of the building that the carousel will be in when it is done and how it will fit into the landscape. I do not believe this small parcel of sloping land, which the children do use, or at least they've been using it every time I've been down there the last few weeks. I don't believe this piece of land can appropriately attractively accommodate this project. And once it is dug up and leveled and placed there, that beautiful area will be destroyed. And the beauty and tranquility of Shiverick's Pond will disappear under the constant noise of the carousel music. Just because the location is the choice of the carousel group does not mean it is the best location for the town as a whole for this amusement park attraction. Please vote this down and let them continue looking for a more appropriate place. It doesn't necessarily have to be right downtown. Troy said it's for the benefit of the entire town, so let it be someplace else in town. And I would suggest maybe putting it at T-Ticket Park, which doesn't have much there and would be an added attraction with a lot of space. But anyways, I do not approve of this article. I don't approve of the way it came about and everything. It seemed to come before the selectmen and into the warrant book before the school committee had a chance to discuss it and vote on it. And so I'm asking to please consider all of this. Let's take some time to think about it. And if this is still in another year the only place it can go, then maybe things would change. But for right now, I ask everyone to please vote this article down. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clarkson?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. And Peggy Zuplat is an old and cherished friend for most of my life. And so the concerns that Peggy raises and that other folks have raised are important to us. And that's why we've taken, I think, so much time and made an effort to really engage the community and hear those concerns before this town meeting. But in specific response to the concerns that Peggy raises, I just want to reiterate what I mentioned a few minutes ago, and that is the town meeting is not deciding on the final step here. And so the concerns that Peggy raised about what a building might look like or how the carousel will be situated on the parcel or all of those issues will be discussed, and we'll have the opportunity for a full vetting when the selectmen actually discuss voting on a lease with the carousel. And so I believe that there's still ample time to vet those issues and to discuss them. But the only way we get to do that is by moving to the next step.
Okay, IT, next on my list is Deborah Siegel from the original list.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I have several concerns which I've relayed to the select board and had talked with Mr. Clarkson about some months ago. The town is attempting to find solutions to the overall lack of parking in the town. And the library parking becomes limited in the summer, and the carousel users have been seen parking at the library's small side lot and on Catherine Lee Bates Road. So my question is, why would we add a carnival ride to the center of town that's going to cause more parking problems? The next concern is that I had assumed that carousel rides cost something minimal, perhaps 50 cents or $1, and have been told by Mr. Clarkson that, if I remember correctly, they're going to be $3. Just imagine being a parent with limited income who takes their children to the free playground at the children's very own school, perhaps. And then the children see the carousel, and we all know what happens next. There are people in town who can't afford $3 for a ticket or a 10-ride ticket for $20. And even though free tickets are available, to whom are they available and how are they distributed? And should people be put in the position of asking for free rides? Because now they're shut out of one more experience which then increases the distance between those of us who have and those of us who don't. Through many efforts over the years, the town has created an area of tranquility between the library and Shiverick's Pond. That tranquility will disappear, does disappear when the carousel is in operation, partly to do with the loud electronic music, and will be further disturbed if the carousel takes over the proposed location. Adults and children walk along the path next to the pond and sit on benches to watch the turtles. That will end, as will possibly the turtles, once the environment is degraded by the construction of a permanent shelter and the loud noise. Mashpee Commons offered free lodging for this carousel, but I'm afraid that a mystique has been created about the necessity of keeping it in Falmouth. And I don't think this makes sense for our town. I just wanted to also say that I've received more calls and emails about the siting of this carousel than almost any other issue, even the cranberry bogs. And they were all hoping that I would raise these concerns at town meeting. Thank you.
Okay, IT, I have Robert Antonucci next on my list.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, sir. We got you on our side.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. No video, though.
Yeah, it should be a video. Well, anyways, you'll hear my voice anyway, so what difference does it make?
Yeah, we can hear you.
There's the video. Here it goes. I don't know why it's not coming up, but I'll start anyways. Bob Antonucci.
We are getting a video feed from you. The feed is just blanked out, so I don't know if there's something in front of your camera.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
There I am. How's that?
Yeah, there you are. Yeah.
Don't I look good? How's that? Pretty good?
Look good.
Bob Antonucci, Precinct 6. I mean, everybody has an opinion about this, and it's not my position to agree or disagree with the previous speakers. However, I'm speaking in strong support of this article. I think it will add a lot to the downtown area. And I think we have to look at providing opportunities where kids can have some fun. The carousel has had good experience. It's not new.
Which one of these was right there, so I could just look up and see.
They have had the opportunity to prove to the town that it's a worthwhile venture. I think it brings to light the perfect combination of a nonprofit and the town working for the good of the town. I mean, everybody has an opinion about it. As former superintendent of schools, I think that siting on that playground would be wonderful. I think would be a great addition to the cultural and educational environment of the town. It provides for our visitors who come here. It provides for our residents. So I would hope that all of you would vote in favor of it. As Troy said, it will go before the selectmen and conditions can be put on it. So let's hope that we can work together. It's worked well, and I think it will work well in the future. So I ask you support of this article. Thank you.
Okay, IT, next on my list is Judith Fenwick.
I'm unmuted and hoping video's coming across.
Yep, we got both.
Okay. I have a presentation to make that IT has queued up, and it may take me over the 4 minutes that are allotted for a speaker. So could I in advance ask for 7 minutes to complete this?
So this would be a general suspension of a rule because there is no portion of the rule that allows a speaker to exceed 4 minutes in the first time, 2 minutes in the second time.
Okay, can I lump my 2 blocks of time together and then never speak again?
Well, why don't we do that so I don't have to do a separate poll? We'll
Okay.
give you the 6 at once.
Okay.
And then you could answer any questions that are directed to you after that period of time. So IT, I think we have a, there we go.
So I'm Judith Fenwick, Precinct 1. This presentation is a little on the text-heavy side, so I'm only going to point out those things that are absolutely necessary instead of walking you through each slide. I have a lot of questions about the project, and I wanted to make sure that people were focusing on the article and not a lot of extraneous things that I know people have got their hackles raised on. So anyway, I'm going to be looking at the who, what, when, where, and how. So could I have slide number 3? So this is the old article, and I must say I really appreciate the added clarity to the article that the select board has inserted since this article was presented to us in our warrant books. So the who is the town meeting, the school committee, and the select board. The what is this transfer of jurisdiction now of the parcel of land. The when is by way of our vote tonight at town meeting. The where is the location as now elaborated in the article. And the how is, again, we get to this point by the vote that we take tonight at town meeting. Slide 4. This is the recommendation and the explanation, and I won't go into this other than the second line in the explanation, which is that this is to lease a parcel of land adjacent to the school to an entity other than the school or town, and I think that's an important point. Next slide, please. The next 3 slides are the first page of a memorandum that town council prepared for town officials, including the superintendent of schools. And the date on it is March 11, 2020. The next slide, please. The first paragraph gives a lot more information about the location of the land and the sort of historic elaboration on the plan. The next paragraph, I think, is a very important one. The school committee must vote, and this was town council back in March of 2020, laying out the choreography. So the school committee has to take the first vote to declare the site's not needed. And of importance, this highlighted or bold one, in its vote, they may impose restrictions on its future use. The next one, please. The third paragraph on the first page of this memo talks about town meeting's role and responsibilities and opportunities. We must vote to transfer jurisdiction of the site from the school committee for school purposes to the Board of Selectmen for municipal purposes by a 2/3 vote. And this highlighted bold sentence is incredibly important. And our vote may impose any future condition limiting future use. My question to the select board is, why was town meeting not educated about this opportunity that was going to come on our vote this evening? How are we as a body to deliberate what could possibly be future conditions limiting the future use, just like the school committee had the opportunity to do with some restrictions that were negotiated and presented in the motion that town council sent to them. And then the next paragraph talks about the board needing town meeting approval to lease land. Next slide, please. Again, I'm just repeating the statement about the school committee's responsibility and role. Next slide, please. This is the actual motion. This is the first page of it. That school committee was presented by town council as a suggestion, and it was read into the record. On the next slide, please. And these are the restrictions that were listed in the second vote that the school committee took. October 27, everybody's been quoting October 28. October 27 was the first vote school committee took with a motion that they received the day of their meeting. So there wasn't a lot of prior discussion about it. And it had the 9th item about the fencing on it. So as you can see here, the roll call vote was 5 in favor and 4 against. Next slide. Explanation, I think only important again on that entity. Could I have the next slide? So I went into minutes of the select board's meeting from September 2020 and also got transcript for the meeting on FCTV for October 5. Just of note in here is statements by one of the selectmen that this item has not been discussed by the board. Let's see, was there other thing of note in here? just people's opinions on the fact that no formal vote had been coming to the board, but there had been considerable work done on it by volunteers, meaning the volunteers from the board of the carousel. Could I have the next slide, please? Okay, this is the town meeting, the select board meeting when the October 5 vote was taken for recommending the articles. And there are a couple of things in here. Again, I took this directly off a transcript that FCTV offers. So there's hardly any punctuation and some run-on sentences. And of note, Sam Patterson made a statement that it's the decision of town meeting whether it's an appropriate spot, not the select board's judgment. And Mr. Brown, last item, I was a little surprised when they first presented it that it was going to squeeze into that lot. And I didn't really see how that was going to work, but I thought that the presentation showed that it could work. Next slide, please. Okay, so the town manager posted a handout on frequently asked questions last Friday, and it listed locations that have been considered by the Carousel of Light and town officials. And I've given here the reasons that were stated on that handout, which was some surprise to me on how some of these had been considered and structure it wasn't going to fit or wasn't permitted. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed location for Article 3, where it is the intersection of Catherine Lee Bates Road and the Shiverix Pond walkway. And it's hard to see, but in the very middle.
We're at time.
Okay, could I just have the next slide and then I'll sit down.
Next slide, please.
So I'd like to offer another possible location just because, throw it out. No committee's ever been put together to bring stakeholders together to talk about appropriate sites. The town parking lot, Kitty Corner 2 on Library Lane and Catherine Lee Bates Road has electricity. It's flat. It probably doesn't need any changes of jurisdiction because it's already town property. And last slide just sums that up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on my list, I had Melissa Keefe.
Hi there, Melissa Keefe, Precinct 4, Secretary to the School Committee. I just wanted to make a few points, I guess, that both Ms. Duplat and Ms. Fenwick said. I would not say that the decision from the school committee was a wide support of the school committee. There was a lot of discussion. There has been a lot of discussion for more than the 2 meetings of which were cited this evening. This was not a wide support. This was definitely a decision that, in my time on school committee, was very strained at times and challenging at best. That being said, I just wanted to make my peace with that. As a townsperson and a Falmouth person, property owner, I don't think it's a good idea to give away any kind of school property right now. Not just right now, but in general, but specifically right now. We've got a committee going on the outdoor classroom space that Amy Leonardi has headed up, and she's done a great job with that. I think that giving away any kind of school property when we're desperately trying to keep children in school with their teachers, with their peers, where they learn best. We're trying to give them outdoor space. We're trying to make use of every square inch we have, both in the buildings as well as outside. It's really just not. I want to come back to what Ms. Duplat said. It's not a good time to be discussing this. We should just be discussing the financial matters of the town. This is, again, I feel like the hand is being forced. I am very concerned about the parking. I think about when I had two toddlers at the same time, you know, they're 17 months apart and you're trying to get a hand on one and hold on to another or hang on to another. And Catherine Lee Bates is a cut through and people use it as a cut through. And now you're asking parents, grandparents, people that don't live here all the time to walk across the street to the carousel. That being said, I like the carousel. I'm not here to say that I don't. I think that it's a beautiful addition to our town. My children love it. Our family that comes from out of town loves it. I think it's wonderful. I just don't think this is the space for it. I also have serious concern about the wetlands over there, the turtles, among other things. I've had specific questions about wetlands and I have yet to get a straight answer. I'm very, very frustrated on that. And to also circle back on what Ms. Suplat said, it's once you dig up that space, you're not going to have the tranquility of that walking space. And I know that people use that. It's a quiet place in the center of town that people like to use for quiet space. I strongly encourage the town meeting to vote this down. I support Ms. Fenwick's idea of having a subcommittee to find with the stakeholders to find another place. I would happily help find another place. I love the carousel. I just don't love this spot. That's all.
Okay, Mr. Brown, next on my list. Mr. Brown, did you still want to speak? You were on the original list.
Yes, sir. I'm trying to unmute, but it says I can't. I can't do it.
No, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, I can't start the video.
I don't have the video, but I can hear you. Go ahead, you can talk.
Okay, just want to make a couple of points. The first is, this is just to give us a chance to start talking about the project with the Carousel of Light. We haven't given any kind of approval or indications that we will. Our vote also was only 3-2. And right now, we're just looking to find out whether or not town meeting supports the concept of that carousel being in this location. If town meeting supports it, then we will vet it with all of our meetings. As Mr. Jones pointed out before the meeting, he doesn't want to give anybody the idea that this is a done deal because 2 of our members are pretty opposed to it. And so it's going to be a tough process to get the approvals, not only from the select board, but also from the conservation. So this may or may not happen, but this just gives us the opportunity to discuss it and vet it and find out if we do agree that it's a good idea. We haven't even looked at the building plans. We've seen the site plan only, but haven't had a good meeting to discuss the site plan. The meeting that we had previously was just kind of a preliminary overview of what the project could be. We didn't have a site plan at that time. So that's where we stand right now. It's certainly not a done deal just because you vote the authorization today for us to discuss it. I personally am very in favor of it. I think it would be beautiful. I think the kids playing there with the ducks and the turtles and everything in the background and a couple extra benches for grandma to sit while they wait for the kids on the carousel. I just think it's a perfect setting. So I'm in favor of it, but that's not been decided by the board. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, IT, next I have Deb Rogers. Where did Deb go? Oh, there she is. Hi, Deb.
Hi, David. Thank you. Here I am. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Deborah Rogers, Precinct 5. When I heard the Carousel Board had identified this location and secured support from the school committee, which was necessary to proceed, I thought, as Troy did, back to Highfield Hall and how in the year 2000, this town meeting body took the step of taking Highfield Hall and the surrounding property by eminent domain and entering into a long-term agreement with that nonprofit organization, Historic Highfield. It was a decision that was bold and has proven to be an incredible gift for our entire town. Further, Our community has had a long-held desire to be more welcoming to young families. Infrastructure, good schools, and services make this possible, as does offering opportunities for families to spend quality recreational time together. Citing this historic carousel in what was beautifully described as a, quote, children's zone is a tremendous step forward in offering a rare opportunity for residents and visitors. And I would hate to lose this to Mashpee. So I voice my support of this article, and I ask my fellow town meeting members to join me in once again making a bold decision, which I believe, like Highfield, will serve as another gift that defines Falmouth as a unique and welcoming place to live and a destination to visit. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say that Ireland.
Okay, next on my list is Ms. Whitehead, Linda Whitehead.
Yep. Hello.
Hi. Hi, Linda.
How are you doing?
Good. We can hear you. We just don't see your video yet.
No, I don't either. Start my video. Okay.
There you are.
I still don't see me, but that's fine. Oh, yes.
That's all right. We see you.
All right. I have so many feelings about this carousel. All good, all wonderful. First of all, I wouldn't even think of having it in Mashpee. Lance Schenkel has been in this town so long. Before he moved away, I had his children. His wife, Jeannie Schenkel, was a skating coach for many, many years at the ice arena. Skating coach for my daughter, my oldest daughter. But, you know, it should not go to Mashpee only because Lance is a Falmouth person. His family is a Falmouth family. He's a wonderful artist. Number two, many, many times I've been at the carousel with all my grandchildren. They have been extremely excited. They know the name of every single horse. They would have to come and say, I'm going to go on the next one, who is, and they would say it. So it's a wonderful addition to this town. It's important to have it. It's important for children to enjoy it. It's one of our gems. But I think that, in my opinion, and probably many others, the site that is chosen by the carousel board is very inappropriate. And it has many reasons why. So I really think that we should not be even talking about voting on anything tonight. I would like to postpone that. I believe that Peggy Sue Platt is right. The other thing, you know, Catherine Lee Bates Road is so busy. The traffic is back and forth, back and forth. Children would be running across the street, even when parents are trying to grab hold of them. I also think that parking lot should be used for the library people, many older people that use it. That's what they need to use. They cannot drive, you know, and park far away. Also for the people who are going to restaurants. I do have one question. What was the reason why this could not be at its original spot, at the corner of the northeast part of the corner near the driveway? I thought that was a great place to be. I did wish that there had been a grandma bench that the grandma could sit on, but you know, it's important that we do have it, we do keep it, but I really think that we should be thinking about a different site for a variety of reasons. The students in Mullen Hall use that banking. I don't think it should be away. I think it's very important.
Okay, Miss Whitehead, you're at the 4 minutes. Does anybody want to address the question relative to the temporary site versus this proposed site? Mr. Clarkson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I can answer that from the perspective of the board, but certainly defer to the school department if they have any additional thoughts. We've very much enjoyed our partnership with the school committee and the school department since 2014 in operating at that temporary site. what we believe is a compelling reason why that would not be a good permanent site is because that part of the playground does have use while school is in session. And so it wouldn't be practical. There's a track that was built there. It's actively used when school is in session as a playground. So one of the reasons why, and there was a committee, a task force established that included 2 members of the Board of Selectmen and Mr. Kasparian from the Chamber of Commerce before he joined our board, and 2 members of our board. But one of the reasons why the current proposed location was selected was because it is in Falmouth Village, in the downtown area, adjacent to where we've been, so that the issues of parking and safety and all of those issues have already been answered. But it was the least intrusive, we felt, with the current operations at the school because it's in the corner and is not in active use. And so that's why the current temporary location was not as suitable as what we're proposing.
Okay, and I think Kelly Welch from the school committee wanted to address that as well. IT, she's got her hand up over there. There we go.
Thank you, Kelly Welch, Chair of the School Committee. So the intent has, I think, always been to have a location that the carousel could remain without being taken down every year and put back up. And that section of the playground is used during the school year. So we couldn't let go of that space.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, Melissa Freetag is next on my list.
Hello, Mr. Moderator. It's Melissa
Hey.
Freitag. Freitag, not Freetag.
Freitag,
Precinct
sorry.
6.
Yep,
Can you hear me?
I hear you. I don't see you, though. Oh, there you are.
Oh, that's
Gotcha.
me. Okay. Melissa Freitag, Precinct 6. I keep crashing out. I'm sorry, especially during Ms. Fenwick's presentation. And so my apologies if I ask any questions that have already been answered. But I had a couple of questions and concerns. One of them, actually, I guess I'll begin with the 300 Committee. Remind this august body that back in September 2020, our town meeting, the town meeting members voted to grant $310,000 to the CPC funding to support the Shiverix Pond Recreational Trail Project. So we actually have a recreational trail project in the works around Shiverix Pond. And this is going to be a passive recreational project that includes a trail and accessible fishing and viewing platforms on the western shore of the pond. And I'm wondering how this carousel with its chimes and music will fit in with the $310,000 project that the town is already planning. So that's one concern that I have. It strikes me that fishing and carousel music don't quite go hand in hand. But then also at our precinct meeting that we had, the one that I attended, there was a lot of discussion about transparency in decision making. And we learned that if the value of a lease that was up for discussion was under $35,000, that it wouldn't be open to bid. So we learned then again from a letter from Mr. Stroud, which I can't pull up because I don't have enough bandwidth at home here, that this project has a value of less than $35,000. And so, people are talking about opening up more meetings after this to discuss the project more in depth, but yet I don't believe we actually have to have these meetings be open in public. And then also a question about the article as printed. We had learned that, yes, the original vote by the select board was a 3-2 vote and that the school committee vote was a 5-4 vote. But that before the last town meeting that we had that we tried to have where we didn't have a quorum, the Board of Selectmen had voted to indefinitely postpone the article because they didn't think that it should come up in the field house, I guess, on that particular night. I don't know the logic behind it, but I'm wondering when.
So actually, the reason was they didn't have the map that we had mentioned that earlier. We
Okay,
didn't
so-
actually have the meets and bounds type of thing.
Okay, so, but they voted to IP it, so did they actually take a vote to
Yes, they
un-IP
did.
it?
Yep.
And when was that, and what was that vote? Was it 3-2 again, or?
Ms. Braga, if you want to say the exact vote count there when you took the vote tonight.
Yes, so the vote was tonight at our open meeting that was on Zoom, and it was a 3-2 vote, same as the last time. And just to be clear, part of the reason why we had indefinite postponement last time was because there was some concern about whether the vote by school committee had been adequately posted with that definitive piece about the map and the property. And so we had guidance from town council that what made sense in terms of this very issue of transparency was that school committee, if they so choose, would need to re-agenda with that entirety of what that parcel was and then re-vote it. So that's why we voted indefinite postponement, because there was concern about the the sufficiency of that vote by school committee. But it was revoted. We re-voted tonight at our meeting prior to town meeting.
Okay, thank you. Well, then I'll return to my first comment and talk about sufficiency and I don't know, the citing sounds highly suspect to me. It sounds very incompatible to a 300 committee open space passive recreation trail, and I think we need to find a better site for this. We're spending $310,000 for a project in effectively the same site that's incompatible with the with a beautiful carousel that will do fine elsewhere in town. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Okay, Mr. Clarkson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think Ms. Freitag addressed two major issues, both of which I'll address quickly. The one is the compatibility with the Shivricks Pond project. We've said all along, and we've addressed that in many different forums, that we believe that the carousel is a compatible use. I would suggest that any passive recreational use is compatible with children and families enjoying themselves and the laughter of families getting together and enjoying themselves. And so we most certainly feel that being adjacent to walking and fishing and enjoying nature is not only compatible, it's an appropriate coexistence of people enjoying some of the great things about our community. On the issue of the openness of the public meetings, just because the value of the land at less than $35,000 does not trip a procurement threshold under the Uniform Procurement Act, all that means is that this does not have to go out to bid. It in no way means that the meetings at which the selectmen will discuss this do not have to be public. Anytime the selectmen discuss this, and ultimately, hopefully, when they vote it, those meetings will be at posted public meetings of the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, next on my list is IT is Jerry Patamus.
I'm sure you can hear me. Just nod your head.
Yes, I can hear you. I just can't see you.
You don't need to see me.
Okay.
I'd like to move the question.
Okay, we have a motion to move the question. This is to close discussion. So IT, can you prepare a poll slide to move the previous question?
One moment, Mr. Moderator, just have to type it out.
Yep. Thank you. So this will be a yes vote will be to end discussion and vote on the main motion, and a no vote will be to allow continued discussion. I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I do have 10 people on the list, just so folks know. Okay, poll has come up to move the previous question. Polls come up to move the previous question. All those in favor of ending discussion, press yes and then submit. All those opposed, press no and submit. This is to move the previous question.
Where's Herbie?
Good call.
Herbie LeMay.
Yeah, Harvey.
Harvey?
It's Joe.
Dave, I can't vote.
Oh, because he has to be moved back.
One moment, Mr. Pertanis.
That's a good point. We're moving you back over, Jerry, to the attendee area, which is where the poll is open. Okay, Jerry, you're back on the attendee side, so you should be able to participate in the poll now. On the panelist side, you're not able to submit a vote because we've got folks on this side that can't vote. They're not town meeting members. So, okay. IT, the results of moving the previous question. Oh, Mr. LeMay, if you want to give us a vote first. Over the phone.
I vote aye.
That's one extra yes for Mr. LeMay over the phone, and then IT. By a count of vote of 142 in favor, plus 143, and 56 opposed. The necessary 2/3 passes, and the previous question is moved. The question will now come on the main motion as presented with the amendment adding number 9, the language to any use shall include an appropriate fence. So the main motion as presented by the Board of Selectmen and the amendment adding any use shall include an appropriate fence. So this is the main motion as amended. IT, if you could give us up a, there we go. Article 3 as amended. All those in favor, press yes and hit submit. All those opposed, no, submit.
So that makes it easy. It comes up, it says 72%, right? So I don't even have to do the math now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as long as.
Well, it's a 2/3.
Where's Mr. LeMay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if it gets that close, that one vote could.
Good call on Jerry Batamus.
Yeah. Well, you're the one that saw it. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
probably would give it a try. But all these people whose hand is still up, we're done. We close the question, we're voting on the final thing. Let it take your hand down.
You see how many.
Okay, we're about ready to wrap up the poll. So any town meeting member who hasn't voted, this is your last chance to vote yes or no on Article 3 as amended. And Mr. LeMay, would you give us your voice vote on the main motion?
I vote aye.
Mr. LeMay is an aye. Yes. Okay, IT, we can close out the poll. This is 107 in favor, plus 1 is 108, and 93 opposed. The necessary 2/3 is not met, and the article as amended does not pass. Madam Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, for notification of the next annual town meeting.
Mr. Moderator, I actually don't have that date in front of me. It was the one thing in my note.
April 12th, 7 o'clock.
Thank you. I would notify, the next town meeting will be April 12th, 2021.
Okay, you've all heard the notification of our next meeting will be April 12th at 7 o'clock. And depending on how this vaccine and this bug goes, we'll let you know where it's going to be. But I think everyone did a good job tonight on this platform. It was interesting for me on this end to have a list of right now 228 names and not be able to see any of you unless you're speaking. But I want to thank you all for logging in tonight. Thank you for coming to precinct meetings and learning how to do this, particularly some of our members who may never have been on Zoom before and got that little extra care from either a family member who's in the room or the excellent staff of our IT department who's been working with folks and following up. Also want to thank our town clerk and the town clerk's office for all of the legwork that they did leading up to this meeting and helping pull off the test runs and certifications, and the town administration for Selectmen and Administrator's Office for your support. This has truly been a historic evening, not necessarily by the fire truck that we bought, but by the fact that we have conducted in our over 300-year history, our first virtual town meeting. And just because I kind of like history a little bit, I'll just let you know that I serve as a monitor for virtual town meetings in Boston, and the mask that I'm wearing tonight was the mask that was worn on the first virtual session of the House of Representatives. I saved it, I wore it tonight, and within the next few weeks, I'll be transporting it to the Falmouth Historical Society to add to their collection and to preserve some of the history and the challenges that we all had to go through during this pandemic. So with that, I won't take a motion to adjourn, but by call of the chair, I dissolve this annual town meeting. Good night.
Falmouth Community Television's coverage of town meeting is sponsored by the following corporate underwriters.
Welcome to the Falmouth Chamber of Commerce. The Falmouth Chamber is dedicated to working on behalf of our members to make Falmouth a better place to live, work, and conduct business. We are committed to developing the economic, cultural, educational, and civic interests of our community and welcome the support from all organizations to achieve our combined goals. Whether you call Falmouth home, are a summer resident, or a visitor, we hope you take advantage of all that the Chamber has to offer.
People think that a locally owned and operated appliance store may not offer what they need. Actually, we have trained and dedicated sales associates, expert delivery and installation, professional repair service, and personal customer service. Plus, we have access to a huge local warehouse with over 6,000 models in stock. Crane Appliance. We call the Cape and Islands home. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs. 508-548-7303 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303. Our email address is carlsonprinting@aol.com. Carlson Printing for all your printing needs.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server colocation, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their number one goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.
The Quarterdeck Restaurant, located on Main Street in the heart of Falmouth, specializing in fresh local seafood and other classic American cuisine, featuring a full bar with friendly staff. And the Bucatino Restaurant and Wine Bar, located in North Falmouth just off Nathan Ellis Highway, featuring catering services with 2 full event rooms serving up classic Italian cuisine. The Quarterdeck Restaurant and Bucatino Restaurant and Wine Bar, we're here to serve all our friends in Falmouth.
Additional funding and support provided by the following corporate sponsors.
Find out why middle and high school students travel from more than 22 towns across the Cape, Coast, and the Islands to attend Falmouth Academy. Enrolling now for fall 2021. Information is available at falmouthacademy.org.
Barrett Plumbing and Heating offers expert plumbing, heating, and air conditioning services to all our residential and commercial customers on Cape Cod and surrounding area. We are a full-service plumbing specialist offering professional workmanship to suit your budget. Whatever your heating or plumbing need, you can always count on a job that's done right.
We at Falmouth Fish believe there is nothing better than a fresh piece of fish, direct from the waters of Cape Cod in New England. Nothing beats waking up at 4 a.m. to search out the highest quality seafood from the best fishermen in the world.
Hamilton Tree and Landscape has been proudly serving Falmouth and the Upper Cape since 1978. Our newest location on Route 151 is now open for all landscaping and tree concerns. Appreciating your property is our motto as we continue to keep your tree and landscaping needs our top priority. At A&A Paving, we believe in providing customers with quality products supported by excellent service. We provide commercial and residential seal coating, asphalt paving, and repair services for Cape Cod and southeastern Mass. A&A Paving, 508-540-4944.
Calfee Insurance, offering insurance policies for your car, home, business, life, and disability. Calfee cares about all your insurance needs. 508-540-2601 and online at calfeeinsurance.com.
Thomas J. Bunker and Jeffrey E. Reither are BSS Design, providing land surveying and civil engineering in Falmouth since 1987. Licensed and fully insured, they're located on Catherine Lee Bates Road, and their phone number is 540-8805. Liam McGuire's Irish Pub. With a newly renovated dining room, it's what an Irish pub should be. Main Street, downtown Falmouth. Bayside Kitchen and Bath, your one-stop shop for all kitchen and bath products. Bayside now offers in-home design services, consultation, and estimates. Our website is tailored for customers to shop online safely from home. Bayside Kitchen and Bath, baysidekitchens.com. Waypoint Living Spaces, carrying a large variety of products to suit your needs in any living space of your house. Waypoint, available locally at Bayside Kitchen Bath or online at waypointliving.space.com.
Eastman's has been Falmouth's hardware store since 1913. With a newly added retail space providing kitchen accessory and gourmet foods, our friendly staff is available to assist you with your hardware and kitchen needs. 508-540-0407.
Carpet Barn, Carpet One Home Showcase, a local family-owned business offering all your premier carpet and flooring needs. They also feature tile and vinyl floors, area rugs, window treatments, and kitchen and bathroom cabinetry, serving you at 4 convenient locations. Family-owned since 1919, at Puritan Cape Cod you'll find the latest in men's and women's clothing, as well as ski and tennis equipment and much more. Located on Main Street, Falmouth, and in Chatham, Mashpee, and Hyannis. Puritan Cape Cod, 199 Main Street, Falmouth, and online at puritanCapeCod.com.
FCTV is also supported by the following businesses and organizations.
Whole Health Company, LLC, 484-888-8202. J. Miller Picture Framer, 681 Falmouth Road, 508-539-3888. Oppenheim and Nickerson, LLP, 156 Locust Street, 508-548-8255. Dalpy Septic Plumbing, residential, commercial pumping and cleaning, 508-548-5488. Nobska Lighthouse and Maritime Museum, friendsofnobska.org. The Falmouth EDIC, falmouthedic.org, 508-548-7440. Partners Technology, Voice and Data Solutions, 781-930-5000. The Annie Hart Cool Team, 508-868-0664. Sora's Flower Garden Nursery, 508-548-5288. M. Duffney Builders, 508-540-3625. Wacoit Congregational Church, 508-548-5269. Village Lamp and Repair Shop, 508-274-2057. Danny's Barber Shop, 508-548-6013. Paul's Precision Automotive Repair, 508-548-3164. David Rogers Electric, 508-274-2057. Murray and McDonald Insurance, 1-800-800-8990. The Davy Tree Expert Company, 508-548-2662. Chapman Colin Gleason, 508-540-4172. Hanush Jewelers in downtown Falmouth, 508-548-9107. Mahoney's Garden Center, 508-548-4842. The Cape Cod 5, 508-457-5252. Martha's Vineyard Savings Bank in Falmouth and Woods Hole, 508-627-4266. Vidal Metalwork, 508-457-9035. And Steve's Pizzeria and More, 508-457-9454. Additional support provided by Stop and Shop, Windfall, Roach Brothers.